Um, just for those who aren't able to make the call, just so that everyone can kind of get an understanding of the purpose of this group is we've all heard the saying, "A rising tide raises all ships." AI is just kind of thrown on us, and we as human beings aren't designed well to continuously iterate and understand new things. We get locked into a certain set of skills and understandings, and we stay with that for the rest of our lives. And that's how it's been throughout all of human history, except for now. So we kind of created this, seeing this challenge, we see, okay, there's a lot of people struggling to understand it, but there's also a lot of people who do understand it well. And so I wanted to create a space where I call it the Planet Fitness of AI collectives, where it's a judgment-free zone. You can ask whatever question. If you say, what is an LLM? That's not a bad question. We want to answer questions. It stands for large language model. But we're going to get into all that today. So today, Agentic AI, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Also, I would ask, just for the sake of time, I'm going to try and get through this before 11 o'clock so that we have for the rest of the 30 minutes for people to ask questions. We've got a lot of AI experts here, people who have mastered AI. One of the things, the working slogan that I have for Stronger Brands AI is helping beginners master AI and AI masters begin helping. I know it might sound a little tacky, but I really want to thank everyone for coming, and we will go ahead and get right into it. So, I'm going to share my screen and here we go. All right, so basically today's topic is all about understanding agentic AI. Can everybody see my screen okay? Just want to make sure I'm not
Yep.
talking and we're good. Okay. Um, Also for you AI masters on the call, if I say something wrong, just for the sake of time, make a quick note and say, hey, I got to fact check what Matthew said. This is technically more factually accurate, just so that we can get through this. And then we'll do all that discussion afterwards. Sound good? So we are talking about agentic AI, and one of the things that I said at the beginning before we all started was the reason. So people look at us as a branding and marketing firm and say, why are you guys talking so much about AI? And the reason why is because we have seen it time and time again. Fortune 500 companies from that size all the way down, people are really hurting their brand by adopting AI without fully thinking through what the implications are, not just legally or from a cybersecurity standpoint, but from a brand equity standpoint. So, what we tell people is that your brand is like a tree. It takes decades to grow, and you can chop it down in an afternoon. And a lot of times, people are handed an axe called AI, and they're like, go to work. And so then people think, okay, cool, I can work on my brand with AI, and really what they're doing is they're harming it. I made a post about this earlier this week about creating a synthesized AI avatars to talk to people on your behalf. I said I think that will hurt your brand, stuff like that. Um, so let's get into it. Today we're talking about agentic AI, and for those of you who aren't familiar with this term, we're going to get into it. Oops, let me go back to the beginning slide. Um, so understanding agentic AI. I know this might sound like fifth grade understanding, but that's okay. That's what we need. Um, Basically, we need to understand first, where does agentic AI begin and what is it? So we talk about the LLM. The LLM stands for large language model. It is basically ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. It's the where we had the huge breakthrough from a consumer standpoint. This is not where AI begins, but this is where the consumer understanding of AI begins. Back in 2022, when ChatGPT launched, and everything blew up from there. The LLM is the base from where everything has exploded. That's an oversimplification. I can hear the eyes rolling from our AI masters. There's way more nuance than that. But for a simplified approach, understanding what an LLM is, that's your ChatGPT, your Claude, your Gemini, Grok, whatever you use. Um, so before it was smart, it could write, it could answer, but it was kind of like trapped in this, glass container of not really being able to do much more than that. If you were to ask it, how's the weather? It would say, it would make a guess because it doesn't know. So then they created this thing called tool calling or tool call function, where they basically gave arms to the brain. So before it was, how's the weather? I'm guessing it's sunny. Now an LLM had the ability to use an API to connect with a tool like a weather API and say, oh, the weather actually is 72 degrees and cloudy. So now that's the birth of agentic AI, which is where the brain has hands. It can now call tools, and then it can use those tools, iterate on itself to give more accurate data, more and to be able to do to actually take action on your behalf. So people say agentic AI and AI agents, and we think it's one and the same. But really, agentic AI is the tool foundation upon which AI agents are built. So we've been hearing 2025 was the year of AI agents. I've been saying 2026 is the year when we all figure that out. In other words, once people see what an agent can do, you basically tell it to do something and then it just goes and does it, right? That's kind of what people are excited about. So, understanding the difference is that agentic AI is kind of like the electricity, the technology that's being brought to the tool, and the tool is the application of the technology. Remember, if there's any questions, you're kind of drinking from a fire hose right now. I want to get through this quick just so that I can show you some examples and demonstrations of how you can use AI agents in your everyday day to day to speed up what you do. In some cases, we've optimized some of my processes, and this might sound like an exaggeration, but by like 1,000% more efficient just using an AI agent. They're the workers. They use the agentic technology, but they are the agents. And these are things that you can build, things that you can buy. We're going to get into all that. So the old way was you would have to direct, the technology. You'd have to direct the LLM. But now with an AI agent, you give it a goal and it can iterate until it achieves that goal. Um, one of the pretty easy to understand is a deep research agent. So you would say, I want you to go, and I'll show you an example of what it does. I want you to go and do deep research on this topic, and then come back and synthesize all the data in a way that I can understand. That's something that you would have paid like a firm to do years ago, but now you can have it done, and then obviously you have to check the work and understand it. You have to get the sources in case it hallucinates. But that's not what we're talking about today. But that's just an example of like an AI agent. So that's a presentation. I'm going to show you some quick examples. First off, we're going to talk about Perplexity's Comet.
Matthew,
Yes.
I just think maybe because you did speed through a lot, if there's anybody that has a general question, or maybe you think the examples will help expand on what you just.
I think it will, and I also just so that
Okay,
because after 11 o'clock is going to be open Q&A. This is
okay,
going to be our chance. I'm not an AI expert, okay? Just so that you guys know, we have AI experts on the call who actually provide AI services. They will be the ones helping to answer the questions, and I
okay.
might have to translate. So, um, so this is just an example of an AI agent. So, this is StrongerBrands AI. I wanted to train a custom GPT on how what StrongerBrands AI is. But when I asked Claude or Grok or any of them, can you go, and I gave it the URL, can you go look at this and synthesize all the data on what StrongerBrands AI community is on LinkedIn? None of them could do it because they're like, we can't log in to LinkedIn. Now that might change, but with Perplexity Comet, I could just open the agentic browser. This is basically your assistant. And I'm going to punch in here a prompt, and I'm going to say, please look over this community. Can you guys see it? I just have it automatically typing out. That's not an agent, that's a macro. Um, Please look over this page. Community fully. I can't see because that's okay. This is a prompt that I'm giving it. I say I need to train a custom GPT that will be designed to help this community through coaching, guidance, and meeting structure, social posting, and community organization. Please write a robust and exhaustive prompt that will help a custom GPT fully understand this community. So now I'm going to hit send. Now watch, it's going to take over my screen. And so in some cases, sometimes it will first tell you what it's going to do. Um, um, oh, I'm sorry. In this case, it's just reading my screen. It doesn't necessarily have to interact with my screen. But right now it's going through and it's reading the whole screen and reading everything that's on the page and it's going through. Some cases that might actually have to browse through. but right there, it's gotten a really good understanding in ways that none of the other LLMs could do because because it's an agentic arm of the browser. So I'm already in because I'm using the Perplexity Comet browser, but now this has extra access. Another quick example would be here. I'm going to open the browser and I'm going to say, basically, find me, search for a post that I can repost, keep it specific to marketing and branding, something having to do with current events as it pertains to marketing and branding. Other good posts would be insights, things like that, something that I would want to, something that would be relevant for my LinkedIn, for my LinkedIn audience. So now you can see it's taking over my screen. It's going to look through, and I'm not going to sit here and watch it. I'm going to come back and see what the results have been. So there it goes. It's going to work. Goodbye, agent. I'll move on to another agent. So now we have Claude's extension browser, which is browser extension, which is pretty much the same thing. And I'm going to say, okay, so this event, I know this is going to sound really lazy, but it's not added to my calendar. I don't feel like copying and pasting. So I say, can you add this event to my calendar? It's going to tell me what it's going to do. I personally don't think I need to review its plan of attack to add it to my calendar because I'm like, sure, just go ahead and do it. So now that's adding to my calendar. Now, am I going to sit here and watch it? No, I'm going to move on to the next agent. Can you all still see my screen?
Yes.
Everyone can still see my screen. Okay. So now I have moved into a deep research agent. So I said, I want to do a deep research on how to do some research on all of the best practices, comparing other businesses like ours in our space, and put together a roadmap for how we can scale to a $10 million business. So what it did was it basically did all this deep research into comparing our agency with agencies on the West Coast, agencies on the East Coast, agencies in the Midwest, comparing our size, our team, everything about us, and then it has given me now this exhaustive roadmap that is a full-on document that I can then take and um, and study this. And not to get into another tool, but Notebook LM, I could bring this into Notebook LM, and Notebook LM could create slide decks, podcasts, everything to help me understand all of this information. That's something that I gave the agent permission to go take action on my behalf, and now it has gone and done it. So moving on to a different example. So this would be, Rick, I'm going to use you as an example here. I hope you don't mind. So this is within HubSpot. This is our CRM. HubSpot has done a phenomenal job at creating AI agents. And we are HubSpot partners. So if you are using HubSpot or want to get started using stuff like this, like a robust CRM, we can help get you set up with that. So Rick, I'm going to use you as an example. This agent right here is our prospecting agent. Basically, all I have to do is give it a contact, a name, an email, and from there it can figure out pretty much everything else by looking into the URL. Now, it might get stopped up on a few things that I have to help it with, but here's what it's done. I said, go put together a campaign for how we're going to sell Rick Catron on our services. So here's what it said it's going to do. It went and researched Rick. And then it wrote up this email. And here's what I find amusing. I had forgotten that Rick was part of an AI Guys webinar session that we did. But somewhere in the research, it found that we had collaborated on something like this. Now, I would have to go in and edit this, but it said, thank you for attending our webinar sessions and completing it. And then it has a personal greeting that I did not write. And then it talks about what we do and how we can help them. And then it says, hey, what's your timeline? It gives them a meeting link so he can just go ahead and schedule a meeting with me. And then an overview. This is our one pager of all of our services. And what it will do then is it will interact with Rick on my behalf and look at whether or not Rick responds. If Rick hasn't responded, it has information baked into its training where now it's going to go reach out to Nick or Rick. Why do I keep saying Nick? I apologize.
I've always wanted to be a Nick.
I think it's
So
Nick Carson.
Oh,
Yeah,
So,
there you
so,
go.
so Rick, it will then go and reach out to Rick based on all the parameters. And so all of this can be baked into the agent setup that I can, it's gonna take me through. I don't want it to lose the page, but it's basically, I can dial all of this stuff in and I can train this agent how to act in such a way that will reflect our brand. So once I have this agent set in such a way that's not going to harm our brand, I say, go ahead, do it. You see what I'm saying? So that's something that it can now take action on my behalf. Next example, and this is my last one. This is a tool called Lindy. It's $50 a month. If you struggle with email management, I would say this would be a really cool tool. There's a little bit of a trial and error that you're going to have to suffer through a little bit. But Lindy is a $50 a month agent builder. And what you can do is say, here's my email, or it will get you give it access to these tools,
Mhm.
and then it will go and do work on your behalf. Now, full transparency, when I started using Lindy, I definitely had some serious issues where it was potentially hurting our brand, where I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, just to make sure you're still good for this appointment. Well, Lindy, the email responder was not connected to my scheduler within Lindy. And so this one, Lindy said, I don't know who you are. I apologize, but this is not something that we are interested in at this time. This initial iteration understood this as I was trying to be sold to. And so then it really confused this person and said, so the person had to say, well, wait, I thought we were good for that. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That was my AI agent. So full transparency, when you're setting up something like this, you might run into those hiccups. Okay, so I know I threw so much at you right now. By the way, here it goes. It says the event has been scheduled on my calendar. Let's see, what did this do? It went ahead and found some posts. Now I will go through and review those posts to see if they're relevant things that I can then go ahead and repost. Initially, I had actually set this one agent to be a little bit more aggressive, where you go and find a post, go ahead and post it. And it was posting things that I did not think were appropriate or things that were in line with our brand persona. So I had to then go in and coach it. So these are kind of some of the pitfalls that you can run into. So now that I've given you examples, I have thrown so much at you. So we're done in 15 minutes. Now, question and answer. I was going to say your homework is go try Perplexity Comet, go try that Claude extension, or try a deep research within one of whatever LLM you find you like the most. And let me just add, these LLMs, everyone used to kind of play the game, which did make sense. Like I use this one for this one for this. Now they're all getting so good, where you could honestly just pick one and stick with it. But I still like the differences. But anyways, so go use your LLM and try the deep research function on something that you're curious about and see what you find. All right, so that's it for Q&A. Now, because I have thrown so much at you, I hope that people have been writing questions. I hope that my AI masters have been writing down fact checking things or whatever. If I've misinformed anybody, this is not my goal. So yeah, I guess, does anybody want to start it off with a question or a point of clarification, something that maybe I breezed through that I didn't spend enough time on?
Raise your hand if you felt like Matthew went fast.
Okay.
I get to hear him all the time talking. He explained agentic AI and AI agents to me this morning. So I had a preview. I'm still a little confused. So
Yeah. So we threw a lot at you there. It was kind of like drinking from a fire hose. So yes,
Mike, I
questions,
think Mike has a
questions,
question.
questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, quick question, Matthew. Very, very nice. I don't think there's an easy way to zip through it. You got it. I'm new to the AI, relatively new to it. There's a bajillion offerings out there. How do you whittle it down? I mean, you talked about HubSpot, you talked about this. Very nice comment on Lindy. That okay, if you go with this one, it's make sure you read all the details. Is there a do you have some type of funnel that you go, okay, here's the one that I want or need?
You're saying in terms of just like testing out these tools and trying to find one that works for you?
There's a million tools out there.
Yeah, there
You
are.
go and
And
search AI agentic tool and you will
yeah,
have 20 pages.
yeah.
Um,
Rick, You want to take that
Um,
one?
Ask ChatGPT, dude.
Okay.
Literally go in there and go, here's me. Give it your literally build. I've been in GPT for 2.5 years. Let it
Yeah.
know who you are, treat it as a teammate, and go, hey, this is what I want to do with AI. These are the parameters. These are my capabilities. This is my business. Which one of these solutions is going to best fit me?
Okay. And it'll give you a little short list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sully had,
and it'll cut it down, and then you go and then take that list and maybe play with a couple of those and go, hey, I like this, and just keep
Okay.
working with the GPT as a teammate
yeah.
to get to this. That's what I would do. That's what I've been doing.
That's a
Oh,
great
great
starting
advice.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sully,
Also,
you had something to say there?
Sully, yeah. What's up, man?
Yeah, for me, and this just goes general for all like AI tools and learning about them. A source that I find really helpful, in addition to ChatGPT, obviously, like that's good to tailor fit things for you. I do a lot of reading on Medium. So Medium is constantly posting, it's like a community-based forum in a sense. They publish various articles. And it's very, very popular within the tech space. So once a new tool gets launched or a new way to use tools, a lot of people go in depth on it and a lot of companies post on it. So like Code and Clarity, we actually have a couple posts, like posts have gotten picked up by publications on Medium. And that's a really good source. So when a new model gets launched or anything like that, a new AI tool, or you can search it up and you have leaders in the industry that will go in depth on it and the way that they use it.
That's awesome. Could you put a link to that in the chat just for people? And then
Yeah.
Scott, you had your hand up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the way you kind of framed up the kickoff here was like, it's what'd you say, Planet Fitness, like judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
I think it's good to go into this conversation, this space with that mentality, because I think what I'm observing is I think across different markets in the industry, when any conversation comes to AI, everybody feels like they're playing catch up or I'm behind the eight ball. There are select few, knowledge providers that are, trying to sell. So they're creating gatekeeping opportunities to like monetize the learning around AI. Yes, there is deep complexity to it. And there are many layers to how you can potentially deploy it for whatever your problem is that you're trying to solve. But I think the first question that was asked around like where do I even start? There's so many free tools out there. Like I'm almost every LLM, major LLM gives you like a free trial
Yeah.
opportunity. So like you can start messing around with it, and the deeper you go, and you can get pretty deep pretty quick. But the deeper you go, then you're gonna have to start paying for it. But as far as exploration goes, that the latest numbers that I saw were like 93% of organizations over in 1,000+ company survey were like, yeah, we are using AI, we're deploying it, but
Mhm.
only 7% have actually done something that has brought a new product, a new offering to market, and has it truly embedded within their operation. So there are so many, there's a steep learning curve. It's moving fast. And what was true a month ago is
Mhm.
not true today. And that's going to be the case a month from now. So, I think uh, knowledge bases, knowledge sources are great to have. There's a small AI that summarizes everything that's happening in the AI industry that I use, and I'll pop the link in here too for everybody. But I guess where I start is don't feel like you're terribly behind the eight ball
Yeah.
because the train's moving fast.
And this is part of that train, is kind of what I'm hoping to create with the Stronger Brands AI community is like, hey, look, you're not behind. Hop on the train. If this is the only thing you do once a month to stay on board, this is going to help you. So awesome points there, Scott. Rick, you had your hand up.
Yeah, this is for
And
the
then
AI
Piyush, I see you
experts.
got your hand up too.
Um, do you guys have any podcasts, AI podcasts that you follow? Because I'm a walker in the morning and I like to check out different things. I know this is a great resource
Yeah.
here, but are there some good ones that are not necessarily on the cutting edge, but are talking about what's happening in the industry, talking about the AI bubble, talking about the new need for data centers,
Yeah.
the strain on electricity, the water, all of that good conversation.
The one that I listen to help me stay on top of things is called Everyday AI. But
Okay.
that's not relevant to what you said in terms of like its impact on the the
Well,
the environment,
just a kind of
big
a
picture.
good collaboration of everything AI, of what's going on here, what people are doing, what the word is, this bubble, everybody's worried about the bubble, and it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
So
Piyush, you had something to say. Was it relevant to that comment
Yeah, yeah. So one, if you are interested in AI and agentic AIs in areas in general, one area I find very interesting where I can learn a lot is actually LinkedIn. So if you go and you start to, connect with people who are AI focused and who have a lot of experience in AI, I'm starting to see there's a lot of discussion happening in this area. So if there's interest, go into LinkedIn and, a lot of
Yeah.
times they even have events, etc., which are posted where you could go, a lot of these are free webinars where you could, register and basically get to learn more about these areas, especially if you want to dive more in depth into these areas.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then the only other thing I would say is, it's developing so fast that what you hear today might actually
Mhm.
be a little, you might hear a bit of a variant next time just because things have changed. So
Yeah.
don't be surprised that you blink and then suddenly things have changed, but it's
Yeah.
really developing fast. It's a very, very topical area, and I think Matt really covered it very, very well, so
So
thank you.
thank you, Pierce, on that. That's a great response. And there's also other people are putting in the chat some podcasts, and then Cheddar
Yeah.
said you can well, who said Mark, you could ask ChatGPT for a list of AI podcasts.
there you go. Duh, I should have
So
went there. Go to
that
your
was take
teammate.
your own advice,
Carlos
Rick.
has his hand
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Carlos is next.
I,
I think I just need
I,
to respond on the speed of it. So, and then also for the newbies like me, I want to make it, I don't have time really to dive into AI. I got to do business. So I got Matthew here, and we onboarded a new client in a totally different industry I'm absolutely ignorant about. So I needed to absorb their website. It's complicated industry, and their work is high tech. So Matthew says, hey, just go to Notebook LM. So this was like 3 weeks ago or four. And he said, but first you got to go to Perplexity, do the deep research, have it
Actually,
research.
Notebook LM has its own deep research
Yes.
component
Oh,
now.
no, that's
Like
what I'm
you
getting
said,
to.
it's
Was
constantly. Oh yeah.
you said go to Perplexity first, do the deep research, paste it into Notebook LM, and then a week later he goes, oh, Notebook LM has Perplexity now, so it can do the
Or
deep
it's not
research.
Perplexity, but it's
Oh,
I think
okay, it can do its own
Google's
deep
deep
research.
research. Yeah.
So, but I'm driving, and because he told me how to do it, I'm listening to do your little podcast thing, listening to it talk to me and teaching. I had a 40-minute drive, and I knew about the industry, and I knew about its competitors. I knew where it was going. It was huge for me. Now I can put in the competitors that they gave me, the 6 competitors, and it would have taken me hours to do that kind of research. We presented to the client, they're like, this is exactly, I
Yeah.
mean, I read it all, I was understanding it all now, but for a newbie like me to just dive into AI, it is so massive. So I think that's the question too for some of us who are just getting our feet wet is, okay, this is the thing, and Matthew talked about that in the past. This is the thing I need to do. How can I increase efficiency with AI and not just use AI for AI's sake? So that was my response to the speed of it and to the newbies. And I do want to let Carlos go next.
Yeah. I'll put a link to Notebook LM in the chat.
yeah, I simply want to say, I put it in the chat. The AI Breakdown is a great podcast, and you can find it on your iPhone. You look for, it's really good. He sometimes even has projects that you can create if you want to get even a little bit hands-on, but it covers all sorts of topics. It's an amazing resource,
Yeah. I mean,
right there.
oh, sorry, Carlos.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's partly why we created the Stronger Brands AI community. If you go to the chat right now and scroll all the way to the top, I put the link in there. I'll resurface that.
I can put it back in, Matthew.
Thanks. The Stronger Brands AI community is also kind of our way of saying, hey guys, here's a good learning community. We just kind of post like relevant stuff. just to kind of help stay on top of your understanding of AI. Like Piyush said, LinkedIn for me has really been a great resource, following certain people. Um, but yeah, no, these are good questions. Now, I guess was there any other comments before I move into my next thought here?
Matthew, this is pretty basic. Why do I need all these other tools if I have Chat GPT?
Great question. Um, so I'm curious to hear what some of our AI experts would say. My initial response to that would be because ChatGPT is like a good all-around tool. Um, it's what I have found is that you've heard the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none." In some regards, and like Piyush said, everything's changing so fast. So this, what I'm about to say, might actually not be relevant next week. But what I have found is that certain LLMs, certain tools specialize in certain areas in ways that ChatGPT can't, because it can't do everything well. So, for instance, that emailing agent within HubSpot, to my knowledge, ChatGPT cannot do that. The Lindy to create an agent that manages my email inbox, to my understanding, ChatGPT cannot do that. So you kind of you use it to the point where you hit its limitations, and then you say, okay, what other tools are there that can do this better? So Solly, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, a good analogy for that with me when I first came in here, because I'm relatively new to actually working in AI in the way I am, right? It's that if you look at a toolbox, right? If I want to go ahead and I have my normal toolbox, I don't have a wood saw in there. So all of a sudden, if I want to add a leg to a table or I want to build something, I need the right tools for that. I can just use a generalized toolbox to hammer a nail into something that's loose, right? And that's kind of what ChatGPT is. For ChatGPT, you can get basic research on a lot of things. You can do deep research, which might give you a PDF. You can reformat files. No, but if you want to do things like what Matthew and Linda were mentioning with Notebook LM, where you're generating podcasts to listen to on your way to work on a specific topic, you're going to need to use a different tool for that. If you want to create agents and then even run sub agents, you're going to need different tools for that. When you want to do more specialized tasks. And in the realm of tools, something that I did want to mention, which you talked about with the agent that you initially built, is, you know, I'm very, very diligent about battle testing anything I do, right? Especially before it interacts with anyone outside of my company. And that goes for, regardless, if you're going to build agents to interact with clients, it's always good to message everyone within your company and just say, hey, check out this cool thing I built, try to break it, right? Because I like to try to break anything I build. And it's better that I see the problems, I look stupid in front of my co-founder, for lack of a better term, than I have issues with a prospective client, right? And that's just something. AI is not perfect. Doing research with Notebook LLM, there's a high degree of chance of hallucination on various topics.
Mhm.
AI agents can be extremely agreeable, which is why I like to cross-reference it with sources outside of just ChatGPT or just Claude. And using multiple models will give you different results because they have different data centers. They're running on different data, right? They process it in a different way. So doing Notebook LLM for one, which is using Google, and then using ChatGPT for the same thing, and then using Claude, you can get different answers. And if you do, then you realize, hey, you need to research this a little bit more because you don't know which one is exactly correct.
Yeah.
So that's another good reason to sort of field out different ones. And then when you get into coding and building, and it gets very, very complicated there for which ones you need to use.
So actually, I'm really glad you brought that point up. So just a quick example. One of the things I really strongly emphasize and encourage, like Leslie, I don't know, is Leslie still here? Is, oh, there you are. Curiosity. Curiosity is going to be your number one best weapon in approaching AI. So for me, sometimes I'll do, like, for this month, I'm going to do a $20 a month subscription to Claude and just use Claude. And so what I did was I did a split test where I created a custom GPT on all the major platforms. And I asked it the same question across all of them. And here's the interesting difference. I said, help me write a post that does this. Here's what I want to do. And all of Chat, GPT, Gemini, and Grok were all like, great idea. Here's how you can do that. But Claude didn't do that. Claude was like, no, that's not going to work that well. We can do that if you want, but here's what I would recommend, something completely different. So I'm like, interesting. Okay, so Claude pushed back and said, I'm not going to work with you on that. Or not necessarily like that hard, but was like, I really recommend you do this instead. So that's kind of the other thing that curiosity showed me. Claude's different than some of the other ones in other ways. So I want to go, unless anyone else has a comment on that. Ruth had a really good question. And I actually, to be honest, don't fully understand the difference there either between open. So, like, I think what you mean by open AI, so like and closed AI. I think, are you saying like open source AI? Is that what you're saying? If that's my understanding of her question, I guess some of my AI experts are going to have to kind of explain the difference between open source and closed source. So, Piyush, you got your hand up. You want to take a stab
Yeah,
at
yeah, definitely. So, there is a difference between proprietary and open. So, those of you who are a little familiar with computer systems, Linux, for example, is open, but a Microsoft Windows, besides Microsoft, nobody else can work with it. But there's this system called Linux, which everybody can work with because it's not proprietary, it's open. But if you want to make a change to Windows in its innards and in the depth, no, you'll have to go to Microsoft, obviously. I don't think they'll make individual customizable changes. But that's the point, that it's either open. So again, you know, uh, there are all kinds of examples, but to come back to this question, open AI is something where a model or whatever technology that provider has created is available to different people. They can modify it, they can augment it, they can enhance it, they can share it, and it's available to everybody. So usually the way it works is that there is a centralized solution area, what we call a repository. But the point is, people around the world contribute to it, and it gets better and improves because a lot of people are testing it, battle testing it out in the field, and a lot of people are augmenting it. Whereas individual proprietary models are, usually they have their own benefits sometimes, which is why they continue. Sometimes they have the first
Mhm.
mover advantage. But other than that, closed systems in general, again, if they have a very specific advantage, you want to use them. But otherwise, open systems are preferable. Now, this is further complicated because there is a closed system called ChatGPT, which is run by a company called OpenAI. So the name says OpenAI, the corporation name is OpenAI, but their technology is actually closed. So I hope it doesn't sound too confusing, but that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Now there are open, area like Mistral, and there's so many other models that exist. And I have used some of these models, and they are fabulous. They work fine. But for example, when I do a lot of solution development and services development, I go to Anthropic's Claude, for example, or Google's Gemini. A part of the reason is that they are closed systems, but they have been set up so well to create the kind of solutions, the kind of code that I need to build for my customers. And so these systems, even though they are closed, I continue to use them. So again, you have to understand these different models and pick and choose the ones which are appropriate for the problem that you're trying to solve. I'll stop
Yeah.
here.
No, that's good. It's kind of like a community garden versus like a single owned garden. With more people contributing, you
Yep.
oftentimes can get a better result. And maybe that's a poor analogy, but one of the things, so we're coming up here on 11:30. One of the things I really want to make sure we're doing is getting feedback from our from those of us who are would consider ourselves not as up to speed on AI as we'd like to. I want this community not to be a time where you come and get confused. I really don't want anyone to be like, wow, now I feel even more inadequate. What I want you to do is I want to encourage you to come back, but also provide feedback. And then everybody on the call, Sully, Piyush, Tony, Rick, some of those other guys, Carlos, uh, work in these, Scott, there's a lot of you guys who are on these calls who provide a ton of solutions. I would encourage you to take conversations offline and meet with them. I know, Mark, I think you and Tony met a couple weeks ago. That's the sort of stuff we want to encourage. It's like, yeah, we're building together, we're learning together, and sometimes business can happen, but really a rising tide raises all ships. So, because I'm trying to make this community as Planet Fitness as possible, I want to make sure that we're not throwing too much at you and confusing you. So that feedback is always very positive for me. You can provide that on the either to me personally on LinkedIn as a DM, or you could put it out on the for everyone to see on Stronger Brands AI. Hey guys, here's something I think that would make the community stronger. And then using that as a segue to my next point, which is about the Stronger Brands community. Everybody who is on here, who is I'm referring as our AI masters, they are part of that community. So if you want to go and connect with them, I would encourage you guys right now, put those links in the chat or go to the Stronger Brands AI community and connect, because this is how we're going to grow together. So yeah, so we got about 7 minutes left. Is there any other final questions, or maybe you're confused about something and you don't want to ask? This is the place to do it. So Rick, you have your hand up.
Just letting you know something kind of cool I'm doing with Brooke Allen, who used to be with WWJ. Do you know Brooke, Matt?
I'd have to put a face to the name. I can't picture.
Caffeinated Conversations, her podcast.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay. She invited me to come on with a psychologist. We're talking about AI companionship and how people are leaning towards their AI and kind of falling in love with them and
Yes.
seeing them as an alternative to
Yep.
their current. So it's going to be a serious but fun conversation.
Can
Just
you
wanted to-
post that on the Stronger Brands AI community so we can listen in? I think that'll be fun.
I will when it's done. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Is anybody, Mr. Joe?
Yeah, actually, to Rick, first of all, great job. I mean, there's no way to explain AI without being efficient and effective, thinking you're not. So there's no way. But to Rick, what Rick's point is that I have a client he's with Boston Dynamic,
Oh yeah.
and they're doing humanoids and ASI. And I've been with AI since 2023. And let's not forget, for all of you, the human touch.
Mhm.
Common sense, flexibility.
Yes.
I utilize 3 agents myself, and I have to integrate them constantly with a kind of handle them as if they're 5 years old.
Mhm.
But it's infinite information. So you guys are right on point. This was great, informative. But please remember that human touch when you talk about the therapy and so forth, because a lot of my clients are falling in love with being lonely and then gravitating towards AI, and
Yeah.
it's getting them really confused. Great job, though.
Yes,
I
there is
love
a term for that called AI psychosis, where it just keeps
Yes.
Ah,
affirming you, and affirming you until finally you're in a bubble. There are situations like that. One quick little point there, Mr. Joe said something that made me think about it, which is kind of like employing that human element, and not being afraid of your job necessarily being taken away, because the human element is what people will be craving. And in the society, our current economy, and just the marketplace in general, there's actually a growing pushback on AI. So there's going to be this give and take where, like, right now, there's a lot of people who are resisting it. There's this term clankers going around where it's just like, oh, you use AI, you're a clanker. You're not, you're a less than, So there's going to be that backlash. Don't be dissuaded by that. That's going to be short-lived. As it finds its place in society, this is the place to stay on top of things. So anyway,
And the,
Piyush,
and the
got your
human
hand.
element, I want to just jump in on that little curve. So we talked about, we had an in-person AI seminar, and we talked about your brand blueprint, your brand DNA. We were in onboarding a new client yesterday, and if they would have put into AI, build a business plan for me, what came out of a 3-hour workshop was they didn't have a sense of really what was their secret sauce. And it was teasing it out and teasing it out. Look at what, and asking the questions and not being so agreeable and pushing back and going, why aren't you charging for that? And who else is doing that? And but after 3 hours, they came out with this, oh, I guess we really don't have a sense of who our company is. If they would have put that into AI and said, build a business plan for me, it would have sent them on a trajectory
Yeah.
in the wrong way. Okay, Piyush.
And then Sully, you got your hand up after Piyush.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Just, just a bit of humor. I was, what Linda Joe just said, that triggered me, old memories. But my dad, having his morning coffee, he was not trying to be lonely, but he used to hide behind the newspaper when my mom would try and talk to him. So it brought up that memory. It's someone who wants to be lonely will actually create walls around them anyhow, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
But your point is well taken that AI definitely needs a human touch. So I will stop here because we are running short of time. But I just wanted to share that with you.
No, that's a good point. Sully.
Yeah, just really quickly. I don't know if anyone's directly said it. You guys have hinted at it, but like prompting is so important in how you talk to AI. I would definitely encourage you guys as you're going down this road to go and do a little bit of research
Hmm.
outside of Chat GPT. Read some articles on it, watch a couple videos, right? On just how to prompt AI agents, and people will show you how they do it. I have my own preset templates, right, for a bunch of different things. Other people do as well. And it really makes a massive difference in the outcome that you get. So I think if you're going to really start diving into this with various assist LMs, I would do that off the bat before you start really going down the rabbit hole. And if you already have, you'll see a significant improvement in the results that you get.
Yeah, that's a
Absolutely,
good
that's
point.
a great point. Yeah.
And to Linda's point, like push back on what the results that you get. Oftentimes it can send you on a trajectory that it thinks you want. Remember, it's not magic. It's just trying to predict what it's anticipating you want it to say. So, and like Sully just mentioned that, like push back, don't, and that's why it's also kind of, you have to be careful if you're doing research on one of these LLMs, it can hallucinate and you don't want, so always ask it, where'd you get these sources? What made you think that I would want, or just, can you verify this for me, please? Can you tell, push back on it. You're not going to hurt its feelings. So with that, are there any last comments? Bill, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think out the gate we heard that you treat these like a person. You talk to them and say thank you. And that now you're shaking your head, silly. And then I heard mixed info, but I'm kind
No,
of hearing back and forth because there's a big difference in how you really. I guess is there?
I don't think we can end
Well,
with
the
that.
idea is like you inherently prompt better if you treat it like a person, but you don't actually like, it's more so like a you thing. Like, yeah, you will prompt better if you treat it like a person, but you don't have to say thank you because then you're, I think, was that why you're shaking your head, Sally?
I mean, here's the thing is that the more context and the more words you give it, like you would to a person, pleasantries and things like that, the way AIs understand language and words broken down into like JSON text, it becomes binary, segments it up, you lose some stuff. That's why like it's like something that we're creating at Code and Clarity. We're building like a developer thing. But one of the things we do is actually to cache responses to use less tokens for like optimization. And it's to sort of cut out people that try to talk to LLMs like they're humans. To like erase that as much as possible to increase efficiency and reduce hallucination.
Mm,
So like in a sense, yes, on a basic level, if you talk like, hey, you are doing X for Y for me and this and that, that is useful for prompting. But like I said, if when you really look into it, the human aspect of it is sort of less and less once you actually have trained whatever AI model you're
yeah.
using to act and behave in a certain way. Even with like chat GPTs, I use a plural because they have all the custom GPTs that you can select from to do specific things.
Mhm.
So once you start getting a little bit more advanced, that helps streamline sort of whatever task you're trying to get it to do.
And to
Good
Piyush's
stuff.
point, the technology is constantly changing. So, yeah, Bill, what was true 6 months ago is less true now because they can understand more vague prompts. When people say, "Oh, it's all about prompt engineering," yes and no. Um, so,
Mm,
anyways, guys, well, it's
thanks.
11:31. I really appreciate all of you joining the call. Hopefully, for those of you who are, learning, that you got something out of it. Go try Perplexity Com. It's $20 a month. It's easy to just test it out. And if you got questions for any of the AI masters here, set up a meeting with them. They're awesome guys. So, thanks
Yeah, they
everyone for
put a lot
joining.
of them have put their LinkedIn connection
Yeah.
profile links in the chat. Also, join Stronger Brands AI and
Yep.
make a comment there on what you'd like to hear. Maybe the next topic is Matthew. Do you know when the next meetup
It's going to
is?
be February 18th. Thank you
February
for
18th.
reminding me.
Oh,
The
crap.
next topic is up for grabs. So
Prompting, maybe Sully, your
talk about prompting or just
mention them.
yeah,
Let's do prompting. Prompting would be awesome.
yeah. Let's talk about that. So
Feedback is great, guys.
yes.
Give us feedback. Let us know what we're missing, what you'd like to see, all that good stuff. So thanks.
Thanks everyone for joining the call, and we will see you guys all next month. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Fabulous.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.